Welcome to Tech Career Podcast. Creating valuable and relevant content to encourage, motivate, and empower you to achieve your career goals. AI, or artificial intelligence, is becoming more and more popular. This technology is growing in adoption by so many organizations around the world. And while AI is a great technology, there are still a lot of things that we don't know. And as we're looking at careers, and as you're looking at a career in technology, AI can be a great field to explore. To help us navigate this topic, we have a special guest with the expertise in this area. Her name is Noelle Silver. Noelle is a multi-award-winning technologist and entrepreneur who specializes in helping companies with emerging technology, cloud, AI, and Web3. She has led teams at NPR, Microsoft, IBM, and Amazon Alexa. Noelle is consistently a champion for public understanding of the ethical use of AI and technology fluency. Welcome to the show, Noelle. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. AI is such a powerful technology, and while many fear this technology, there's a lot of great aspects that organizations can take advantage of. But before we even get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Noelle Silver?
Yes, absolutely. Well, very exciting. I actually have now, and some of you will see this, I just got married. So now I'm Noelle Silver Russell, brand new, just happened.
Congratulations. That's great.
Super excited about that. And my journey actually is probably not unlike most people who will be listening. I started off, I've always had an interest in technology from a science fiction perspective, but was never classically trained in software development, software engineering, data science. I just always had a passion for it. And it turns out that that's exactly what we need, is a lot of people with a lot of passion. But my journey started way back the first time we thought the world would end in Y2K. And at Y2K, it was very similar to what it is now, where we all needed a skill set and there weren't enough people in the world to do the work back then. And we're now at exactly that same crossroads with data. There's not enough people getting into the world of AI and data engineering to do the work that needs to be done. And so I was a beneficiary of that. I was able to get into a career that I had no business really being in. I had no classical training in, but found huge success because of my drive and persistence. And so I'm excited to share with you today some of the tips and tricks and hacks I use to kind of navigate a career in this space.
I love it. I can't wait. Honestly. And you know what? I want to start with a quote from Elon Musk, because I think this quote represents a lot of views from many people in regards to AI. So the quote says, and I quote, I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight, maybe at the national and international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. With artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon. Now, sounds very, very scary, right? But I think we fear what we don't understand. So yes. Why don't you help us understand this? What's AI?
I will share with you, I was in Washington, D.C. speaking at an event, and I'm walking in the monument with all of these, all of the things like the Lincoln Memorial and the big Washington Monument. And I'm walking with my husband, and I have a shirt on that says, "I heart AI." And someone out of nowhere screams in my direction, "All AI should be destroyed."
Oh my goodness.
And I realized in that moment, we have a lot of work to do, because there actually is, as you mentioned, so much opportunity in this space to fix the world's problems. And AI is a big part of those solutions. But what is it? A lot of people don't even really understand what it is, what it's capable of. I'm in a very specific area, which we'll dive into, in artificial intelligence. But at the baseline level, it's allowing us to learn from routine things that we do. So something that we do every single day. Imagine, if you will, 1988, when we were getting all of these emails and they were full of spam and had the same words and used the word free and drugs and all these weird things that we now easily identify as spam. AI was used in the earliest days to actually just pattern recognize at scale, be able to look at every email and automatically say, I know that that's spam and I know that that isn't. And that way our inboxes got cleaner. They're still a bit of a mess, but they're not nearly as messy if you ever go into your spam folder and see how much you've been saved. And that's a really good example because everyone has a spam box. Most of us don't even go in there. But there's a model,
True.
an AI algorithm that's examining every single email and making assumptions, actually predictions on whether it's useful or not. And every time you go in and go, oh no, that's not spam. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go in and find something important that was spammed by accident. You right click on it and you say, this is not spam. And you're training this algorithm on how to make better choices. And that's exactly AI at its core. We teach it to do something based on past data, past behavior, but then it is constantly evolving as our understanding of whatever we're asking that AI to do, as our understanding of what we want it to do evolves, we go in and train it on new data. We go in and say, this is not spam. Or there's so many different ways that we do this today. Microsoft has this really cool part of its PowerPoint product today that I love. I'm not a designer or an artist really, unless it's coloring books. But they now have this little area called design. I think it's called design helper or something like that, design assist. And you click on this tab and it auto generates all of these PowerPoints based on millions of people who've built with PowerPoint in the past. And
Wow.
that's really the heart of like the opportunity that's present, right? In using some of this technology.
That is amazing. It's funny because when you think about AI, well, if you don't know about AI, all you can think about is the Matrix, right? Because
Yes, or the Terminator.
yeah, exactly, right. What they're gonna take over us now. They're gonna control us. But in reality, there's like you said, there's a lot of benefits to this, but there's a lot of teaching that needs to be happening. And you know what? Not just teaching people, but also teaching machines, and that's where machine learning comes in, right? Because I feel that AI goes hand in hand with machine learning. How to teach the machines how to make those decisions that you were talking about.
Yes, and that's where like a lot of people think that AI is going to eliminate the human, right? Eliminate humans' jobs and people are going to be unemployed, but the reality is many times the work we want a robot to do is work we don't really like doing anyway. It's the routine, mundane, monotonous work that we can have a narrow driven AI model do for us. But then someone who is an expert in that task needs to train the model and continuously train it. It's not like software of 10 years ago where you built it, deployed it, and someone uses it as an app on their phone. This is a continuously evolving technology. So it always requires domain experts, people who know the task, to constantly be training it on what is right and what is wrong, and giving AI the ability to grow as the world grows. And that's the human element, and that will never go away.
That is so true. That is a good point. Now, what's interesting is that you were mentioning about how AI really started a while back, right? I mean, you mentioned about the emails.
Yeah.
And we don't think about AI from that standpoint, but that is so true. So AI has been evolving, I guess, with time, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, AI is decades old. In the 50s is when the original Turing test was created, and it's from your listeners can look it up. Alan Turing. It's a great thing to look at because it defined what artificial intelligence means, at least meant back then and up until really just recently. And what it said was, can we create a piece of software that is indistinguishable from a human? So you have basically a big wall and you have a user on one side, and we want the user to communicate to a robot and to a human. And if the user can't tell the difference, then it's artificial intelligence. And that's a pretty low bar when we think about like artificial intelligence, because humans don't require that much. So if right now we're using it in contact centers for triaging requests and questions, we're using it for medical triage. When people call a medical center and they're like, this is what's wrong with me, they often get a bot that knows millions of things that could be wrong with you and are able to get you to the right place the quickest. Some of us lived through the bad part of AI when we were using some of these systems that were not very smart. We call it weak AI,
Yes,
right? Where you're like, this doesn't seem smart at all.
that's right.
But all of that, if you build it right, and if you build it responsibly, you're constantly training it and evolving it, and eventually it does solve the purpose that it was originally created for.
Such a good point. It's funny because I don't know if I'm sure you've used this, and many of our listeners have used the chat bots, right? That sometimes you find on websites, and you're
Yes.
trying to buy something. And initially, these chat
Yeah.
bots were horrible, right? You were trying to ask a question, it was like answers that weren't even correct, and sending you
Yes.
to all kinds of weird places. But there is this new chat that is being developed, right, by OpenAI that is
Yes.
becoming something very, very impressive. I've used it myself, and then the image generator as well. I mean, there's so many things that right now are so advanced. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting now because, and this is the world that I work in, we call it applied AI. It's where a job, like when you're looking at career opportunities in AI, you don't necessarily have to think statistics, mathematics, building algorithms from scratch. Today, we're starting to see what we call large language models or massive models being built, and then hundreds, thousands of companies being created that sit on top of these big models and create different industry focused solutions based on these models built by Microsoft, IBM, right? Google, Amazon, they build the models. And now there's a whole ecosystem of companies that are making the results of those models available. So to give you an example, one of my favorite baseline models, original models, is forms recognition, and it's a pain for me because I'm a mom and I have 5 children, and when I go into an office, any doctor, dentist, I have to fill out like a stack of papers. And as a technologist in my mind, I'm like, we have solved this. I could give
Right.
you my driver's license, you could take a picture, and you could just extract the information into your
True.
system. Why am I doing this? And here's what's missing is that there's no one, like the data science team is solving a technical problem, and they've solved more technical problems than we're currently even using. But the side that's missing is the people with the problems. The mom who's like, please fix this, documentation problem. The person in government who's like, why are we working with paper? Like there's a gap between those two. And that's where all of the opportunity lies. And the benefit is you don't have to be a mathematician to do that, right? You just have to care about the problem and be willing to learn enough about AI to translate the solution.
Man, wow, that's great because it's so true. When you talk about use cases, right, in AI, you need to talk to the people that really have the problem, like you mentioned, the moms, the
Yes.
dads, the parents, the people on the other side of the Amazon app, that's trying to
Yes,
buy stuff. you know,
exactly.
those are the users that are going to be benefiting the most out of AI. I mean, and the organizations, of course, are going to benefiting from this. But so, are you telling me that there could be an opportunity for people to be that bridge, right? That's
Yes.
going to close the gap between those two.
Yes, and it's actually one of the biggest areas of growth in our industry because there aren't enough. I mean, right now we're considered unicorns, people who can bridge the gap between value in a business or for a customer and the technology that can do the work. And this gap has always been there, but it was a little easier because we could deploy something and just let a user figure it out. The challenge with artificial intelligence is that now when we build it, we're building predictive models. And these predictive models, if not done carefully, can actually infringe on our customers, can hurt our customers. And that is, I think, what creates just a perfect storm, if you will, right? An opportunity for those of us who want to get involved to jump in and help, especially like musicians, artists, people that have very specific expertise. Anyone who is a creator is going to be able to provide a lens that a data scientist, a pure mathematician, they just can't see the world through that. So I call it inclusive engineering. But teams, the best teams in the world, make sure that they have people of all types, all educational backgrounds, all ethnic backgrounds, gender, right? Neurodiversity, because the more richness you have in that team, the better your AI product will end up being.
That's a great point as well, because sometimes you think that because I didn't go to school for computer science,
Yes.
I cannot get a job in this field. However, I think AI is allowing us to do that, right? Because you need that creativity, the creative people, the people with different backgrounds, different views, to be able to teach the computer, right? Because at the end
That's
of the
right.
day, they have to learn how to make those decisions. And sometimes the mathematicians and all those specialists are just so focused on the technology side, they forget about the use case.
Exactly. And many times they're not in the same life. They don't have the same life experience. I'll give you an example from my time. I mean, I was able to be part of the early days of Amazon Alexa, very early days. And I built over 100 applications for Amazon Alexa. Some of them became extremely popular. I have over 2 million users. But
Wow.
when I joined that team, and to this day, unless I decide to go back and get like a GED, but I don't have a high school diploma. I left school before I finished. I also don't have a college degree. I also got impatient and left before I finished. I did go to both things. I did attend, but I didn't get the paper. And so I'm living proof now, like it actually doesn't matter. But what I did do is I built, like I learned by doing. I built repos upon, repository upon repository of code examples. As much as I could do, I put my fingers on a keyboard and learned by building. And that is a skill that most people don't have. They don't, a lot of people talk a good talk and then you ask them to implement and they're like, oh, I've never built that before. And I'm like, well, what are you waiting for? Like, let's go. And now more than ever, there's an opportunity for us, the tinkerers, right? The people who are willing to play around, to learn, to be willing to fail. I mean, how many apps did I build to fail to get 100 that I could deploy? Like hundreds. But it's more of a personality type than it is a technician, right? A specific technical skill. You need someone. We're asking the world, like, are you the type of person who's willing to jump in, be passionate about something, and get your hands dirty, right? Put your fingers on a keyboard and build something. And some of the best products in the world were built by exactly those type of people.
That is a powerful story. I didn't know this about you.
I know you might not have asked me.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. This is like you said, a true testament of somebody that has been successful in technology and didn't have all these prerequisites, right? I mean, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes you're looking for a job and you have companies looking for people that need to have years and years of experience about technology that is not even that old.
It hasn't been alive that long. Exactly.
It's ridiculous, but that is excellent. I mean, I came from Mexico when I was 18, right? When I came to this country, I didn't speak a word of English, right? And so I was able to go to college. But one thing that I realized is that there's a lot of opportunities here, but you have to really go for it. You have to really remove that fear, that insecurity. Right? I remember my first job in technology. It was at a help desk, and I was still learning English, and I never went to high school here, so I didn't know grammar. My job was to call the customers and email them about their experience,
communicate with them.
So I was actually texting my wife left and right. Hey, is this correct? Does this sound right? Is this spelled correctly? It was crazy, but looking back,
that's what we do.
Yeah. If fear was there, if I would have led and allowed fear and insecurity to be there and take over, I would have never been where I am today, right? I mean, and succeed in this field. So
yes. And I feel like sometimes even the best meaning people will tell you in these moments when you see an opportunity, like going into AI or going and starting to learn a bit about this technology, well-meaning people who come from a different life experience will tell you like, oh, I'll tell you, my manager at Amazon, before Alexa was born, I asked him permission to go to the Alexa team, and he told me I wasn't technical enough. He didn't know. Of course I was, but he didn't know that. And he was nice about it. He wasn't like, oh no, I'm not going to let you. Like he literally was like, I want your success and I don't think it's there. But all of us, especially I think females and people of color, especially, in my mind, I'm like Latinas, like there's a part of us that knows the truth, whether we could do something or not. And we're given this moment. And sometimes we let those people tell us like, oh no. And we're like, okay, maybe you're right. But we have to really, especially in technology, we have to flex that muscle of do it anyway, try anyway, just try it. You never know. And literally that choice to go around him and say, thank you for your feedback. I'm going to go anyway. Change the trajectory of my life. Like everything I've done since then was based on that work that I did at Alexa. I mean, I worked at Microsoft, I've worked at IBM, some of the biggest AI companies in the world, because of that journey started that day that I said, thank you for your feedback. Let me think about it. And I went anyway. So I always say, like, if there's a part of you, even with no experience, it's like, I really want to do this. This seems interesting. I'm like, just do it. So many of us, we look back 10 years ago and go, gosh, we should have done, we should have said yes to that opportunity. Or why didn't I do that? Why didn't I try that? The younger or earlier career you are, the better opportunity you have to take these types of risks. Now I have a family, right? I have 5 kids. I'm married. My dad lives with me. I am the breadwinner. I take care of everybody. I'm I'm a little bit less aggressive than I used to be. Like, I don't know, if somebody told me I wasn't meant for something, now I might listen more. But back then I was like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to just really listen to their intuition when it comes to whether or not you can do something, because no one knows you like you.
So true.
And I always know that I can do something before anyone else knows it. So I think that's a really good skill to harness.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think during our lives, during our careers, there's always going to be those people who maybe intentionally or unintentionally are going to be blockers, right? And maybe their words, maybe they don't mean to, but maybe their words, if we allow them, we give them power. I think it's all up to us what we do with the feedback that we receive from people. Well, some people are meaning good, some people are meaning bad, but sometimes it's not even that. It's just a word that is stuck with us. And I think we give it power. So I think, as you mentioned, we just keep pushing forward.
That's right. I've so many times had people say something that is, if I repeated it, it wouldn't sound like anything, but the impact that they like, even if it's just doubt, where they're like, oh yeah, I'm not sure that's great for you. Like, it doesn't mean it's not great. It's just this like shadow of a doubt. But it seeps in. And if I'm not in the right mindset, it can deter me from doing what I want to do, because I feed it, right? I feed this, like, maybe I'm not, maybe I didn't, I don't have a certification. Like, I didn't build enough. I didn't do enough. And so I really focus a lot. I mean, I would say the majority of my time is focused on maintaining a mindset of growth, right? Of success, of, motivation. I set goals, I set targets and achieve those goals, right? Like, I'm very focused on forward momentum, because it's so easy for someone. I mean, even my mom will come in and remind me of who I was at 6 and be like, you could never go anywhere on time. And I'm like, no, I'm on time now, Mom. I am. But like, you have these conversations. You're like, why? I don't want to be reminded of who I used to be, because I'm a new person now. And when you start a journey into AI, you're building a brand new you. No one is really an expert in this space right now. There's so much opportunity that you could even become like me. 7 years ago, I knew nothing about AI. Now, somebody just recently wrote an article that said I'm the #1 person to have at an AI event, a keynote.
Wow, amazing.
Like, how is that possible?
I love it.
But I think it has a lot to do with what you said. Like, it's persistence, it's continuous effort, and it's continuing to have a positive attitude about the outcome. Like, I always say, I will have a happy ending. Always. Like, even if I'm not in it, like in a happy ending, I'm in a bad place, I'm like, this will work out. This will work out. It all works out. And it always has for me. So I encourage others to share that mindset.
Definitely. I think it's how you approach things, right? And
yes,
always that positivity brings back positivity, and
I agree.
I'm a guy of faith, right? I'm a Christian, and I believe in prayer, and I believe in that, right? And so that has helped me personally, right, in my career, in my life, tremendously. I think that mindset of that spirituality, it's always has helped me, and I know it has helped a lot of other people as well.
Absolutely.
And
it's so important. It's critical, really. You have to, it's belief. And, like, who are we? We don't, I don't tell people what to believe, but the power of belief can help you do things you never thought you would do.
That's true.
And that belief and faith in yourself. Some of us, like, I'm also Christian. So some of us, we take it to a different level. But at the same time, I'm like, even people who I have no perspective on religion, like, you have to believe in yourself, that part of you that is capable of doing things that you've never done before.
Yeah.
So many of us choose not to take the leap. Like, now, AI and data, there are companies willing to hire you and then train you.
Wow.
That is unheard of, right? Like, Google, Microsoft, I mean, these big companies, Accenture, they have programs specifically, especially in underrepresented parts of the world, whether it's Latin America, whether it's even a city like mine in Miami, or they have programs to bring people from like a community college into this industry. So
Wow.
it's not that it's not there or not available. It's we just have to shift our perspective to be aware and find out about them. And now you all know me, so I can help you get connected
There
to
you
some
go.
of those resources.
Exactly. No, you know what? I want to take a quick break, but before that, I want to on when we're back, I want to talk about the different areas, different jobs that somebody can look for, and about the future of AI. Um,
That sounds great.
and as we do that, I like to sorry here. I like to remind everyone that you guys can go to our websites at www.techcareerpodcast.com. We have a new link, which is the same and goes to the same place, but it's just shorter, tcpcast.com, where you can check out all of our different shows that we've recorded there. If you have any questions or future shows that are coming up and you want to record your question to be live here on the show, you can do so on our website as well. We're starting now today. This is the first episode that we do with video. And so that is actually something that is very exciting for us. So we're going to be on YouTube. So if you don't mind, drop us a like and a subscription, excuse me, to our YouTube channel, to our YouTube page, where you'll find more of these videos coming up. Today's show, we're talking about a career in AI with Noelle Silver Russell now, right? So let's get back to our guests here and let's continue our conversation. Noelle, again, thank you so much again for being with us. And this so far has been a great conversation. I'm excited to learn more about a career in AI. What kind of jobs are there for people that are currently in technology, and that want to maybe switch areas, right? Maybe they're tech support, or maybe they're in sales, right? And they want to look into something that's more futuristic, like AI.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the good news is that it's about 10 years ago, maybe 15 now. AWS came to the world and they said every company is a tech company. Every company will have technology in it. And I've definitely seen that come to fruition over the last 15 years. Now we're, though, starting to see every company become an AI company, having AI infused in it somewhere. And so the first thing you'll want to know is that really any company you join, there'll be an opportunity for you to get involved in artificial intelligence. The other thing, though, that you'll want to be thinking about is that there's lots of different areas that AI is used. So in marketing, for example, you might be interested in sales, right? You might be interested in marketing and figuring out how to best market to your customers. Today, artificial intelligence is used. Actually, we were just talking about it earlier. What if you wanted to create content? And you wanted to write a blog post. Today, you can use software like Chat GPT-3 to create an entire blog post. Some people even use it to create an entire book.
Oh my
And you can
goodness.
have AI generated. But more importantly, you as the person wanting to do the role, your job would be to use these tools to, you're going to leverage AI, but then it's going to build you're going to get a result. And your job is to discern whether that result is good for business or not. Should we use it? Should we not? There's other areas, though, that I'd like to talk to you about that are my passion areas that I personally like. One is called solution architecture. And the reason I like this is because it's half evangelism, maybe a third evangelism. Your job is to learn by doing. Your job is to always be on the cutting edge. So you're learning everything new. If you have always been accused of like never sitting still and always learning the next new thing and never being able to just like enjoy your life, which I'm always accused of,
Right.
solution architecture is a great role because your job is to be an evangelist or spread the good news of whatever technology company you're working for. And you could do this for the big companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, or you can help any supporting company, any company that leverages their technology. This is a vendor role, which means that this role means you'd work for a company that's selling software, and your job would be to architect solutions for that. Many times, if you want to get into AI, it's really good to understand the cloud. And so I would encourage you to go take a look at like Microsoft or Amazon. They both have free onboarding classes for their initial certification called Cloud Practitioner. It's I won't call it easy, but it's very simple to learn. It's just you have to learn it. It's like learning to walk or learning, to do something you've never done before. You have to read it, you have to study it, but you're not learning to build algorithms in mathematical statistics, right? You're understanding the language. And I think it's critical for you to understand the language of the land. And as you move into AI, the land of AI is built on cloud. So they kind of go together. And then finally, I'll mention the last role, applied AI engineering. And what this means is that you can actually go and for free, you can learn to code. And many, millions of people have done this. You can go to a website like freecodecamp.org, and you can they have thousands of classes, but they have a very simple class on coding. And at the end of 100 days of learning to code on that platform, you actually now will have enough skills to integrate hundreds of AI models into an application. The hardest part is not the tech part, not the coding part. It's figuring out good ideas, reasons to put the tech together. So I will give you one example in insurance. No one does this, but we're now coming up with ideas around how do we avoid, having to send in paperwork. Right now, if you're in an insurance company, you have to fill out paper with a pen, old school.
Yeah.
You have to then mail it, or guess what? They even ask you to fax it. Fax,
Wow.
like, what are we doing? But this is the insurance company. But one insurance company decided they wanted to do something different. So they decided to use WhatsApp. And they created a conversational AI application that allows you to send a message to WhatsApp saying, I'd like to, get my benefits. They then ask you to take a picture of whatever documents you've completed, and then it starts the process. AI is used to extract the information and pass it along to other systems. In all of those activities, there needs to be a human saying, is this right? Is it wrong? Is it going to the right place? The work itself doesn't really change. What changes is humans' participation in it. Now we become the managers of digital workers, even independent contributors, meaning if you work by yourself and you don't have anyone who reports to you, your new world is going to be digital workers. You're going to have little virtual assistants, digital assistants, robotic assistants that are helping you do your job every day. And the more you know about how those work and how they're built, the more effective you'll be in any role.
That's fantastic. Now, you were talking about some certifications, right? The cloud certifications. Are there any AI specific certifications right now, or is it too new that there's not really that kind of cert?
There's plenty of opportunity. So both Microsoft and Amazon have very specific, and Google have very specific certifications. I encourage you to go the direction of Microsoft first. And the reason why, I will disclaim, I am a Microsoft MVP, which means I've been awarded most valuable professional in artificial intelligence. So I love them. They love me. We're friends.
Congratulations. That's great.
Amazon. but I do want to disclaim that. But the reason that I like it is because they have a learning path in order for you to get your, it's called Azure AI Fundamentals. And the reality is that the future, you're not going to really be building AI from scratch unless you're in academia and you want to build a model that's never been built before. The future is about people who understand existing models and how to customize them for the industry, right? How do I take a model and use it in healthcare? How do I use it in retail, finance, music? That is where we have a huge gap in expertise. So Microsoft has a platform called Microsoft Learn, and they have a free training. It's like 9 or 10 modules that will take you through every element of the certification. The certification is not free, the AI one, but if you pay attention, like I set a Google alert, many universities will offer free certifications to the community. I live in Miami, so Miami-Dade College offers AI challenges once a year, and you can go in and get your certifications paid for through a relationship that college has with the big vendors, like Google and Microsoft. So that's something to always be on the lookout for, to make sure that you have a chance to take advantage, especially if you're not in a financial place to actually do it. Also, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon all have student availability as well. So if you are a student currently, they have opportunities for you to take classes for free and take certifications for free. So if you're still in school, like that's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of.
That is fantastic. Now, if somebody doesn't have experience in AI, what kind of first jobs can they get? What should they be looking online for? For that first job.
Yeah, so there is an entry level position in artificial intelligence, specifically going back to what you said earlier, machine learning. Is that one, and it's kind of considered the job that nobody really wants to do. But in my mind, I don't know. I think to myself, if you can get into an industry and get a 6-figure job and it's ethical, like,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like it's okay. You can figure it out. Even if you get 60, 80,000 and you don't have a college degree, like that's good money compared to what you could do.
Right.
So I ask everyone to kind of take it with a grain of salt, the work that you'd have to do. But there's what's called a machine learning life cycle. And it's basically all the elements that's required to build a good model. And the very first step of that machine learning life cycle is to figure out what data can we use to train the model. Remember the spam, right? Someone had to go in and look at spam and mark all the words that are spam-like words. Someone has to physically, we call it annotate or label. You have to label the data. Working at Amazon Alexa, one of the things that we did is 1% of all utterances that came in to the platform, a human looked at them and said, this is what this subject is. This is a music question, or this is a science question, or this isn't a question at all. It's a comment. Like, I think the most popular utterance in the first 2 years of Alexa was, I love you, which isn't really a question or anything. Like, what do you do with that? But someone had to label it so that we could appropriately respond when someone said it. You didn't want to just break if someone says, I love you to your product.
Right.
You want to respond. And now today, if you do it, it'll actually sing to you.
Oh, nice.
Which is really nice. But just think through like the thought, like the engineering process, right? Is that someone had to identify that was being said. And that's the human, that's the entry level position. It's not a terrible job. It's just not very, there's not a lot of things to do after that. Like, it's a way to get into the industry and learn. But then once all of that data is annotated, it gives the data scientists and the machine learning engineers all the information they need to make better decisions. And so it's critical. It also used to be one of the most underpaid roles within the life cycle, because technically anyone can do this job. But ethically speaking, now is the best time to get involved, because we now realize as an industry, it's not okay to pay for, to take something that's going to create huge value for a company and pay someone less than they pay someone else in that same life cycle. So we're seeing those salaries go up. It's a great opportunity. And most importantly, you're at the beginning of a life cycle. So you get to watch your work get propagated through an organization. And that will set you up so you can be like, ooh, I really like this phase of the life cycle. I want to go work there now. And there's lots of opportunity for growth in these types of organizations.
I love it. It's so wanted to ask you a very direct question about the future of jobs, right? Because
Yes.
I think a lot of people have shared with me the concern they have about machines taking over their jobs, right? And now that they're becoming even more intelligent, right?
Yes.
They're gonna take take my job away, But so what would you say to somebody that maybe is not in tech, but is afraid that their job is gonna be taken away? What should they be doing right now to prepare for the future? Because in reality, there may be some jobs that are gonna be obsolete or replaced by technology. So, but there's gonna be others that are gonna be created, right? So I think
Right.
at the end of the day, how can somebody prepare for that future?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. One, I think back, this is not a new challenge. Innovation causes disruption, which often causes displacement. This is not new. I always think about back in the day when elevators were just coming online, there used to be humans in the elevator that would take you up, open the door, close the door. Now you can go to like New York City and you don't even hit a number when you walk in. Like, you hit the number before you get in.
Right,
So,
right.
like, we've come a long way, but imagine the fear of the user, right? Of the person getting into that first elevator that didn't have a human.
Right.
It's like, it's real. You're like, wait a second, there's no one here. Just like I have that fear now when I get into an elevator where I can't press the button inside. I'm like, I hope I press the right button.
Yeah.
Did I press the right button?
Where am
Right?
I going?
So these fears are not new. Like, they are decades, generations old. But similarly, we just recently saw this happen, like in the automotive industry, right? As the automotive industry just turned towards automation, right? Robotic process automation. The people in those jobs, they had a choice to make. They could, of course, be like, oh no, my job's gone. Or, and most of the, and we see this today in the thriving automobile industry, but there was a rough patch there where they didn't know how to transition the skill set of their workers. And so the companies themselves would, the good ones, created opportunities to repurpose their skills to become robot trainers, right? To train the models. I still need the person who's the best on the line, the person who does their job very well. I need them to do the work of training. Today, to be more realistic or maybe more relevant, today, a lot of companies are moving into conversational AI. How do they leverage voice technology to automate a lot of the processes that a human used to do, like a teller? However, in all of these organizations, they need a human who does the work, who knows what to do, to train. It's called conversational design, to train someone. So my perspective, how do you like make sure, how do you protect yourself, right, in this space, is
Right.
to kind of think about, I mean, I'm a futuristic person. I'm always thinking about, like, what does this look like later? I'm always reading books and articles about the future. So I'm always thinking about a generation or two ahead. But how do you get your mindset to think, like, what about what I do right now can be automated, and how can I be, right, part of that automation? So oftentimes that means companies creating a new conversational design, like, role within the company, and everyone who used to do that job manually is now teaching models instead. And I've seen this happen across the board. Some people, I will tell you, it's based on, again, that mindset that we talked about earlier. If you have a fixed mindset, if you don't think you can learn, if you get anxiety when you're approached with changing the way you work, it's going to be very difficult. But that is, like, if you remember back in 2008 or 2006 in the dot-com bust, like the comms that, or the e-commerce organizations that succeeded were the ones, and the brick and mortar retailers that succeeded were the ones that could shift their mindset to a new way of working. And that's what
Mm.
we have to do as individuals. We have to think about a new way of working. And there's so much opportunity. Like I said, every job, even if it's digitized or automated, needs a team of people to actually train, monitor, and discern whether or not that robotic process is doing its job. And so I do think if you have it in you, like, some of us don't, some of us are like, no, I just want to do what I've always done for the last 10 years. I don't want my job to change. It's going to require a new mindset for you to step into the unknown. But in that unknown, there's just a wealth of opportunity.
You know, that is so true. And I at work, I work for Red Hat, right? I'm a solutions architect at Red Hat, and I know you were there too, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love Red Hat. I've been there twice.
I love it. I love it. And I talk a lot about digital transformation, right? And how organizations need to transform to stay relevant and to compete. I think that the
Yes.
same conversation can be had with humans, right? With
Yes.
people that have jobs. They have to transform. They have to be able to transform. And the funny thing about digital transformation that people get confused is that they think that it's only driven by technology, but it's not. One of the
Yes.
two pieces that are most important about digital transformation is people and process. If you don't transform your people and process, you cannot digitally transform.
Yes.
Technology alone does not do digital transformation. And so
That's
for
right.
people, you have to change your mindset, right? I mean, it's almost like we need to build a new digital transformation message for people so that they can
Yes.
be ready for that future.
I think you're onto something, actually. We
Hey,
should
maybe we can.
definitely do this because you're right. I always call it a socio-technology challenge, where, like, half of it, if not more so, is sociological. It's human-based. It's culture-based. Like, you can have the best model in the world, but if you don't have an organization that's data-driven, that understands and has a mindset of what it means to build responsible use of this technology, like, it won't matter. It won't matter how good your tech is. I mean, even some companies, I won't name them, like, they have incredible numbers of of patents and ideas that have been documented, but they haven't executed on them. And oftentimes that's because the people haven't changed, not because the tech isn't there, it's there. I mean, I saw this even on Amazon Alexa. I struggled because I would tell developers, you could build anything and they will build this tiny little glimpse of what was possible. They would build very simple command-based skills. I'm like, no, you could call anything. You could launch screens. You could, invoke business processes. You can use Alexa as a UI for anything with your voice. And I could not get developers to think beyond the very simple. And that's a mindset thing. It's not that it's not possible. It's not that the tech isn't capable. It's because we as humans are limited in our thinking and limited in our imagination. And that's why a lot of the listeners, like if you are creative, if you're imaginative, if you are passionate, like it's never been a better time because we are hungry for this perspective in our teams. Because most of us, as you mentioned before, are heads down, data science, building algorithms, and we can't build the bridge to how useful it could be in the real world.
That is so true. That is so true. And, we're coming out to the close here of the show, but before we leave, this conversation is so exciting because there's so many gold nuggets for our listeners here and even for myself. So I appreciate all the wisdom that you have imparted into us. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to have you back. Would you come back to our show?
Of course. Yes. We got to talk about ethical AI.
Yes, we do.
There's so much we could do, but I'm so grateful that you asked me to be here, and we're fellow solution architects. So that's awesome.
That's true. Yes. Yes. Now, how can somebody get a hold of you? Because I know you're a speaker as well. So how can people reach out to you for speaking engagements or just to share with you ideas and such?
Absolutely. I'm pretty traditional in this way. I do use LinkedIn as like my inbox. I am more respondent to that than my email. So LinkedIn is the best way. I just made a big announcement about my joining Accenture, leading global AI solutions. So you'll probably see that show up in your feed if you connect with me, but definitely connect. Don't just follow. I'm such a big believer, like we are a small community, especially those of you trying to get into this space. Connect with me. I'd love to extend my connections with you. If nothing else, I can introduce you to people. This world is pretty small, but we require uniqueness of thought. We need people with a authentic voice, willing to stand up and build something awesome. And so if you're that person, if you feel like we're speaking to you, just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to be connected.
It's fantastic. You also have the website right there. I'm sharing the website here down here. Yeah, noellesilver.com. You can visit that website. You get all the information about Noelle, about what she's doing, and all the different links. I'm also going to be sharing all the links on the show notes in our website. So make sure you go to techcareerpodcast.com, and you'll be able to find this podcast with all the information and details, including the links.
Great. Oh, and I have a whole list of AI resources for getting onboarded with AI. So I will send you that so you can add it to the notes.
Thank you so much. That will be great. I'm sure our listeners will be able to benefit from that greatly. Well, Noelle, again, thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to our next talk here at Tech Career Podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Tech Career Podcast. Don't forget to check out our website for more information on how to connect with us by visiting www.techcareerpodcast.com. That's www.techcareerpodcast.com.